Okay, guys. So today we are going to talk about the sprint planning. So what is sprint planning? So sprint planning is one of the main event that the Scrum Guide suggests, and it actually kicks off the sprint, right? And the main purpose for having a sprint planning is what can be delivered at the end of the sprint and how that work can be achieved. So the definition that you're seeing here on the slide, it's taken from the Scrum Guide. So let me just read through it and just take a note that each word in this definition has its own meaning. So I'm just reading it through, and then maybe we can discuss more. So sprint planning initiate the sprint by laying out the work to be performed for the sprint. The resulting plan is created by collaborative work of the entire Scrum team. Okay, the product owner ensures that attendees are prepared to discuss the most important product backlog items and how they map to the product goal. The Scrum team may also invite other people to attend sprint planning to provide advice. So yeah, so this is the definition that the Scrum Guide provides. So as I already said, the purpose of the sprint planning is to define what can be delivered at the end of the sprint and how that work will be achieved. So we will get more into that in the few further slides. So one thing I like to highlight here is three things that is the intent of sprint planning is to look at the three things. One is why the the sprint is valuable. So how we can find that is by looking at the item, the user stories that we are going to pick up for the sprint is how it is aligned to the product goal, right? And the second thing is what can be done in the sprint. So once we are aware of the POs, help the team to understand what all user stories are aligned to the product goal. Then we pick up from the user stories in the order of priority, and we decide like what all things based on the available capacity of the team and their past performance or the previous velocity, we pick up those items. So that is something we decide as part of the sprint planning. And at the end, how will we choose the work to get done? So again, this lies with the developers within the Scrum team. So they decide how this work needs to be done and completed within the sprint. So in this case, the PO or the Scrum Master or no one outside from the team should influence the developers. So they are the one who take the accountability and decide how this works that they are committing for the sprint needs to be done. Yeah. And one more thing, the sprint planning or time box to say 8 hours for a 1 month long sprint, and in case of a shorter sprint, the duration gets proportionally shorter. So for a 2 week sprint, mostly the teams I have noticed or experienced in past, they follow the 2 week sprint. And normally for 2 week sprint, the what the Scrum Guide suggests is the sprint planning should happen for 2 hours or less. Okay. So again, if the teams are mature and if the team has done a good refinement throughout the previous sprint, there are chances that the sprint planning may not last, may not take 2 hours. We can finish it even in a lesser time. With that being said, I'll move on to the next slide. So who all should participate in the sprint planning? So first of all, the Scrum team is mandatory to be one of the participants for the sprint planning meeting. And when I'm saying Scrum team, or the product owner, the Scrum Master, and developers, all three roles should be present and participate. Yeah, and there will be cases when the stakeholders or the business sponsors can be invited. So suppose there is some ambiguity around one of the user story where the team needs some answers from the business or the stakeholders. So in those cases, Scrum Master or the PO can invite the stakeholders or business persons into the sprint planning meeting so that they can help the team in clarifying any questions or any open issues. Right? It's not like they should estimate or they should enforce team to pick up something. They will just be there in the meeting to help the team on clarification part. Right. So that's on the participant part for the sprint planning. I'll move on to the next slide. So what all things that the team should do before sprint planning? When I'm saying team, again, it's consisting of both PO, team, developers, and Scrum Master. So before getting into the sprint planning meeting, the product owner should make sure that the product backlog is ordered in the list of highest priority based on the uh, product goal that we are trying to achieve, right? And PO also need to make sure that the user stories are as per the definition of ready. So definition of ready is again something which varies based on teams to teams. So each team will sit together maybe, and they come up with the pointers which they call it as a definition of ready. And if those pointers were not met, they normally don't take up those user stories, don't commit for those user stories during the sprint planning, right? So these pointers can be anything like there should be no external dependency, or the acceptance criteria will be written in a clear manner. So it again as I said, it depends on team to team. So they should come out with a definition of ready pointers, and the PO should make sure that the prioritized user story that he wants team to be pick up in the upcoming sprint should meet this criteria of definition of ready before the sprint planning. The next point is okay. I already discussed that the prioritized user story should yeah. So team should have the refinement session in the previous sprint before the sprint planning, and in during this refinement session, the PO will already have some idea like what can be the sprint goal for the next sprint, and based on that he will have a few of the prioritized story, and the team sit together during this refinement session. They go through this stories, try to understand what is the business value of it, and the focus should be on why and what part, and not on how part. Okay, how they should complete this story. The focus should be on why and how part. So they try to get all the answers from maybe all their doubts clarified by the PO during these meetings. And then since the team consists of different skills, right, like maybe a designer, tester, developer, front end developer, back end developer, so everyone should have a shared understanding. So that's the main purpose of having a refinement session. Everyone should have a shared understanding of what the user story is about and what is required. And once the team is having the shared understanding, then the Scrum Master can help the team to estimate those user stories during this refinement session. Again, the best practice to refine these stories is using the story points. But yeah, again, a team can take up any estimation techniques for that matter, maybe t-shirt sizing or linear numbers, or there are still few teams who do it in a manas, which I don't recommend, and even which is not a good way to do. But yeah, so once another thing before sprint planning is have the prioritized user stories refined and estimated. Okay, and then the third one is that again it's not very critical, but if team has some vacation plans in upcoming sprint, maybe they should highlight that before getting into the sprint planning meeting. So Jira or Azure DevOps, if you are using, there are plugins in Jira, and Azure DevOps also has inbuilt capability where a team can update their capacity for the next sprint. So it will give a visibility to the both PO and the Scrum Master before getting into the planning, that okay, what will be the available capacity, and based on that they can think about their sprint goal or modify their sprint goal, right? So that's one thing. And in the cases where there is no tool, electronic tool where the team can update, maybe the Scrum Master can create one Excel template for updating the capacity and keep it in some at some shared location where a team can go and update their planned leaves or some training. If they are getting into a training or they are not available for doing the sprint work, they can highlight those unavailable times. So this is what normally we do before getting into the sprint planning meeting. Moving on, what all things we do during the sprint planning meeting. So I have listed out the pointers in sequence, like how it goes. So I will follow the same. So during the sprint planning meeting, we start. The Scrum Master will facilitate the meeting first of all. So he will ask the product owner to share what is his vision for that upcoming sprint. Yeah, and the product owner, he has some product sprint goal in his mind, and he will propose that sprint goal to the team. And then yeah, the Scrum Master, since PO has already kept the product backlog in the order of priority based on the sprint goal, so Scrum Master will start navigating the user stories from the top. And if team has already refined those user stories, well and good. If not, we will again go through each user stories one at a time. And if those are refined, those are estimated well and good, we'll just have a quick discussion and we'll move on to the next one. But if they are not, then we will use the planning meeting to again refine it, get all the answers clarified, all the questions clarified from the PO. If there is any doubt or any dependency, teams can highlight, team can discuss through it, and we'll again refine and do a estimation during the planning meeting itself, in case the user stories were not refined or not discussed during the refinement meeting. Okay, so when this is done, maybe when we uh, went through all the user stories that were shortlisted by product owner as part of the sprint goal, once we went through all, then we will check the capacity of team. So I had mentioned that the team will either fill on the capacity Excel or in the tool prior to coming to the sprint planning. If that is not done, maybe Scrum Master can quickly check with all the team members and fill up the capacity and check what is the available capacity. And then they will Scrum Master will help show the past performance of the team, like what is their like say last average velocity of the last three sprint, and what was their past performance, how many stories they were delivering. So uh, like looking at these two items, the available capacity and the past performance, the past velocity, team will commit the user stories. Okay, so once that is done, so it may happen that say PO has selected say six user stories, but based on team's available capacity or their pass velocity, we can team can pick just four. So in that case, we may have to negotiate with PO and change our sprint goal. So that thing will also happen at this moment. So team can work with PO, and then we can modify and finalize our sprint goal. So post that, the Scrum Master will ask team to break down all the user stories into tasks. So what all tasks that is needed to complete that user story. So one user story can may need contribution from all the skills, maybe some contribution from a tester, from a developer, or maybe two developers in that case. So we promote, generally we in Scrum we promote cross functional team members, but sometimes it doesn't happen in on the ground, it doesn't happen. We try to keep a cross functional team where all the skills needed to deliver a story is present, right? So now what we do here, we will break down the task, and so the owner of the user story can be one person, but the task can be owned by multiple person. So that is the idea here, right? So now each of the individual will add the task under these user stories, and they will give some hour estimation based on their prior experience and whatever the shared understanding that they had, based on the discussion we had during refinement, even during the planning. So team started giving the hour estimation. Again, this is an at individual level. Say I am creating a task which I am going to perform, so I will give the hours based on my understanding and my skill level. So a fresher can, as I said, like as a fresher can may for a similar task, a fresher can take say 12 hours, but senior member may take 4 hours. So we are not going to judge anyone. So this hour estimation should be at the individual level. But just want to highlight one more thing here. The story estimation that we're talking about at the top, that should be at the team level, where the story will be estimated based on some benchmark story that team has already decided, and based on the shared understanding of the team. And everyone should agree to the same number while doing a story point estimation. But during our estimation, it should be at the individual level. I just wanted to clarify before moving ahead. Okay, so moving on, yeah. So yeah, I think I covered the last part as well. So this is all the things that we do during the sprint planning. Okay, and once we close the sprint planning, the sprint get kick started, and team get started working on the committed stories. So these are the things, few things that we do after the sprint planning. So we again, before closing, or maybe after closing, the scrum master again verify the sprint goal is meeting from the committed stories by the team. Yeah, if the sprint goal has something which is not there in the committed stories, maybe it's like that story is not taken by the team, maybe we have to work with the PO again to modify and finalize. So the chances are that team, while negotiating and finalizing the sprint goal, this item is taken care. But it's a good thing for a scrum master to cross check after the sprint planning. The next is circulate the sprint planning notes to all the team and the stakeholders and the business, so that the business and the stakeholders are aware that what they can expect at the end of the next sprint. So this is more of a setting expectation and being transparent. So transparency is one of the key values, right? So we have to be transparent with our stakeholders, the business. Then the next one we have is the team will start development on the committed user stories, and throughout the sprint, team as well as the scrum master, we all can track the progress towards our sprint goal. We can use the burn down chart or maybe look at the board to see how things are progressing. We should keep an eye open to look out for the impediments or any dependencies, and if there are any, maybe scrum master or PO can help, can pitch in and try to help, or maybe at least help team to understand what all things are impediments, and make them highlight or voice out those the initial phase rather than taking it till the end of the sprint. So these are the few things that the scrum team can do after the sprint planning. So a quick two things. So what are the prerequisites for the sprint planning? Of course, the prioritized backlog, refined and estimated user stories. Again, it's not mandatory. There can be a chances that after the team done their refinement and before we get into the sprint planning, things have changed outside, and PO has some new user stories to be introduced to the team. So this is a good prerequisite, but it's again not the final. PO can always introduce some user stories during the planning. Then the definition of ready and the planned capacity. Okay, one more thing about definition of ready is though the pointers the team come up with these pointers, and they commit to user stories only when this definition of ready is met. But again, it's not mandatory and not suggested by or not mandated by the scrum guide as well. So there are chances that team is aware that okay, though one of the point is not met, but we know. So suppose there is an external dependency, but they know that the dependency will end within the by the first week of the sprint. So with that condition, they take up those, commit for those stories as well. So it is not mandated and it's not a hard and fast rule. Team can always tweak around these things. So what are the deliverables for from the sprint planning? There are two things. One is the sprint goal, should be aligned to the bigger project goal, and and then the sprint backlog, which should help the team to achieve the sprint goal. One more thing I like to highlight here: the sprint backlog may contain the user stories which may not be aligned with the sprint goal. So there are chances that team also working on something else which may not align with the sprint goal. For example, maybe some technical debts or some spike which may come up in the next sprint, yeah, or maybe some retro action item. So it can be anything. So sprint backlog will contain the user stories which should suffice the sprint goal, but it can also have some other user stories or other work items which may not have direct impact on the sprint goal. Okay, so that's the basic of the sprint planning I shared with you guys, and the next is the role play exercise. So Sunand, you want me to continue here or you want to? Okay, hi team. So today, welcome to the sprint planning meeting. So today our PO Amit is going to talk about or share what we are supposed to do for one of the highest priority item that we're going to take up in this sprint. So over to you, Amit.
Okay, thank you, Shovik. So, team, as we have already estimated and refined three of the four user stories, we won't go for those. I would like to share and bring to the attention this fourth user story, which is for searching functionality that we have to add. Um, as part of the user story, I'll quickly reiterate for this forum. As an online customer, I need to search for products so that I can find the ones that I want to buy. Pretty simple one. Acceptance criteria is something like search for a product by name or category. That would be our first scenario. View products by category, view images and details for each product. And last one is add to cart from the detail or search pages. So yeah, open to questions. So after this, what we'll do is we'll try to estimate this user story. But first, want to understand if there are any questions.
Yes, Amit. So one question probably, so are we already having a list of products to be included into the portal, or is it going to be like a dynamic addition?
So right now we have a database of images already. After this search functionality, we would add a certain drop down or text field with which we'll be able to search the product either by name or category or whatever scenarios you can see right now.
Okay, okay.
So view product by category, it is like a filter.
Is it? It's like a what? Sorry.
Filter. When you can click on the filter tab and you can categorize what you're looking in a specific area.
Correct. So you would already be in the portal on certain category, and then while you're searching, you can just either select that particular category or you can change it from the drop down. That this drop down of category, it's already there on the left side of the page, right?
So
Uh,
after clicking on add to cart, we have to navigate to the another page, right?
Correct. So that whatever items you have in the cart, those would be retained, and then when we go to the cart page, we can search in there as well. So the same functionality, search functionality that we have, it would be replicated on the cart page as well.
Okay. And the wireframe for front end side, it is available.
Correct. So wireframe are already created. I have it from the UI UX designer. They're pending for one final approval from customer. I have it in my mailbox. I'll share the latest version over the mail after this call.
Okay.
Yeah, I have one question. In like if we are working on the search criteria, is it required that the add to cart from the detail or search pages it is required, or should we have it separate?
So, with the upcoming festival time that's going to come soon, the customer is actually optimistic, wherein they are hoping to have a huge list of products that people would be putting in their cart, and that's why they are hoping that if people want to search some particular product in the cart page as well, so we'll just replicate the same functionality on the cart page. No big thing, no changes in the search functionality as such. There's the same way we would be searching on every page. The same would be replicated on the page of cart as well.
Okay, thank you. Makes it clear.
Hello. I have one question. Like,
Yes.
are you going to have any, you know, like a wish list? Like just not adding into the cart, but people want to add some product in the wish list as well. So, are you going to add that one?
I'll take that note for the customer, and I'll check with them if this would be added. We'll create a new user story, preferably a new epic as well, and we'll see how it goes. But I've taken that note in parallel.
Okay.
Uh,
Thank you.
And one more question. When we are displaying the images, are you going to add any like shorting technique will be there?
So the images would be there of the product itself, and we are searching by the product. And now the search criteria are there on the screen itself. So by name, by category, or whatever details we are trying to put in the search box, it would be searched as per that.
Okay, but like in short functionality, in the sense, if people want to see like low to higher price product first or higher to low price product first, so in that, I just say,
I
yeah,
think maybe I misunderstood. We are talking about searching here. Sorting would be a different thing. So when I search, it would be searched by name or something. Sorting, I'll again take a note, and we
yeah,
will.
yeah. I'm talking about the viewing the images, actually displaying the images on the screen. So how it will be? Do you have any short functionality
So
over
right
there?
now we have default sorting, which is A to Z alphabetical order.
Okay, okay.
you want to show anything from the previous searches as well, Amit, in the search box?
No, not right now. I'll take a note of that as well. If we want to retain that previous searches done by the user, because that would again require a certain number of searches to be saved and captured within the DB as well.
Yeah,
So I'll check with customer if we want to add that functionality.
sure.
I mean, how many items are expected on one page?
Correct. So right now, whenever we are viewing the products, they are listed in 10 batches of 10. So 1 to 10, 11 to 20, something like that. Search would again reuse the same functionality, and we would go by the same way. So whenever we are searching, let's say we have 70 or 80 products that are refined by the search, we would go from 1 to 10, 11 to 20, something like that. So same everything would be replicated.
So in one pitch, 10 products we can expect, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Amit, one
So
more
my
thing.
understanding currently it is a requirement for the web application, not for the mobile.
No, our portal is also viewing, and it's working just fine on the mobile as well, right? We'll just continue on the mobile side as well. No changes on that side.
Hi, Ms. Gautam here.
Yes.
One question from my end. While we search for the product, will it show some reference? Like what I
Uh,
search, will it autocomplete in the search box?
that's a good point. I have not considered. I'll add that in the points to be discussed with customer. Thank you. That's a good suggestion.
Welcome.
Yeah, Satish here, Amit. One thing, when I search for a product, if it is not available, is there be like, is there already a feature available when the product is available? There will be a notification sent.
Right. So I'll also add that part as part of the acceptance criteria. So might be a negative scenario wherein if there is nothing coming out as a result of the search, we'll just show a blank page, something like, oh, your product or your search didn't result into our product. Would you like to search something else, or we will show our top product, something like that. So I'll add that. I'll get it checked with the customer, and I'll add it as the fifth point here.
Yeah, actually, I think my question was different. So when I'm
Okay.
searching a product, the product is not available right now. It will be available after 10 days. So is there a feature that will notify when the product is available? So that,
I will check with customer on this one.
Also, Amit, is for browsing and searching product in the portal, is authentication and authorization is mandatory.
No, you can search without logging in. So you're just browsing and window shopping kind of a thing. You can do that.
Okay.
Are we good to poker now?
uh, one last question.
Just
So in
yeah.
the search results, it will display some discounts and all, or
So right now, whatever the products we have by default, with discount or without discount, whatever list we have in our database will just reflect that same as part of the search. If it is having discount, if it's applicable, we'll show it as it is. If it doesn't, we'll show correspondingly.
Guys, I think we have enough info. Shovik?
Yeah. So any more questions from anyone? I haven't heard anything from the validation part. Anyone want to check on anything, or are we good?
I think we are good.
Yeah, we're pretty much clear, Amit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shashank, you have something?
Yeah, I think as part of validation and verification of the products, I think there are some quite a few corner scenarios or use cases that needs to be considered here to ensure that the existing portal is working as expected and the new changes which are coming as part of search product is not getting making any changes to the existing portal. So I think there are quite a few corner scenarios because we'll be navigating through multiple pages. In that aspect, I think there should be some quite a lot of testing to be done in that area. So that is my observation. So as we proceed, I think there could be some increase or decrease in the scope. But yeah, I think yeah, for now, I think based on that we can proceed further. Yeah.
Sure. Great point, Shashank. Thanks for bringing that up. Okay, before we get into poker, a couple of things I want to check with Amit. Amit, you mentioned that the wireframes, the final approval is pending. So till how much time we can expect that?
Correct.
approval to.
So, if we don't receive it by 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, I have a scheduled call with the customer at 11:30, something around that time. If we don't have it by that time, I'll get you by lunchtime tomorrow itself. But we won't hold any more on that. I'll definitely get you that. Just to keep you guys moving, like I said, I'll also share that on the mail just after this call, so that you have idea of what all components you're going to bring in on the screen. So I hope that helps.
Okay, that will be a help, Amit.
Yes.
And one more thing, the question asked by Satish, I believe. So the error page, you said that we will show up some error page. So what exactly you are going to show? That also you are going to get the confirmation from
Yes. Yes.
the customer, right? So
Yes.
what can what will be the ETA for that?
I think it should not take much time. I can get that done in that call itself. So by tomorrow
Okay,
same time slot, I'll get you the details.
sure. Again, that will help, Amit. And then the couple of more things that retain search and autocomplete. Even if a customer agrees to that, do that, it will come up as a separate user story, maybe in the
100%. It
next
won't
sprint.
be it this particular user story won't be extended. It would come as a
Yeah,
new scope, new user story.
great. Okay, okay, guys. Any more questions for Amit? Are we all aligned about what this user story needs?
Yeah, we are all
Uh,
excited now.
Yes.
yeah, one
Great.
last point I had, I think, yeah, sorry. Yeah. So one last point is like add to cart. So if we have zero, one, or many products within the cart, so will we be having another acceptance criteria or another story to test that the cart details as well?
Can you say that, Shashank, again? I didn't follow.
Yeah. So add to cart, the last point in the acceptance criteria, right? So add to cart from the details to search pages. So I was wondering because if we can have different use cases, like if there are zero items in the cart or one item in the cart or many items in the cart, right? So in that aspect, zero, one, many, if we consider that, like we have in the Wazur technique, right, of splitting the stories. So in that aspects, do we see that there is a need for splitting the story in that for to get the acceptance criteria there?
Sure, we can extend that. I understood. Yes, we can do that.
Yeah. All right, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so I assume that there's no more questions and we are aligned on what needs to be done. So we can get into the planning poker. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so guys, while giving the score, think of the login functionality, which is our benchmark story that we completed in our first sprint. So that was a two-pointer, very basic. So compare this story with that relatively, like how bigger or how complex is this story in comparison to that, while giving your scores. Yeah, and maybe you can consider all the acceptance criteria that Amit has mentioned. Think about all the validation part, right? As Sashank mentioned, that the scope. Think about the scope as this feature need to be developed in both mobile and desktop, and we have to test in different devices as well as different browsers. So keeping all that in mind and all the discussion that we had, give you a score, please. Okay. Adil, Amay, and Shankri. Adil, you are there?
Yes, I am. Yeah, yeah,
Have you gave your
yeah.
score?
I've given him a score. Yeah.
Okay, okay, and Shankri, only yours is left. Shankri, you have any issues with giving your scores?
Yeah, it shows disabled. I'm not able to do anything.
Okay, maybe
Shankari, from
Shankri.
here you can deactivate your spectator mode. Try once.
Okay. Yeah, it's working.
Okay, so we are just waiting for Shankri. Okay, so we have got all the scores. Let's reveal the cards. Okay, so yeah, quite a diverse. So I see a lot of folks given 8. A couple of them has given 5, and Shashank has given 13. So let's let's hear out from the outliers. Maybe first we can hear out from Bratati and Shankri why they have given 5. Maybe what was your thought process or your point of view for giving the story 5? Shankri, you want to talk
Yeah.
about that?
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. It is, I think, based on the login page, and this is for authentication and authorization. So most of the thing, I think, the coding will be we can use it from the existing codes. So also it is a very regular what to say, the regular feature that we are working on. So I think we can have a 5 story point on this if there is no further difficulties on that.
You want to add anything?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with Shankari that we are not doing that much. Like we are not doing any transaction thing over here. Just searching the product. If we are getting, then we are displaying it. If it is not, then we are trying to display the error message or whatever we have decided upon
Mhm.
later. So based on the login functionality, I have chosen that 5 pointer here.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Sure. Thanks for the comments. Shashank, what made you give it a 13 pointer?
Yes, Shavik. I think because considering the point that in the acceptance criteria there is a scope of still we can slice the story based on the cart details, right? So based on the number of items, I think based on that and also on the corner scenarios that we have on the number of use cases, and also we need to test on both desktop and mobile. Considering all these aspects, considering the efforts and the required and also story splicing which could be needed here in case of any much more details once we get from Amit and the customer. So I think once, because based on, because including that the cart details also, if we need to validate in that aspect, I think if we slice that story into smaller pieces, then I think we can go down from 13 to maybe 8 or 5, depends. But yeah, it again it varies from the acceptance criteria on the stories. So yeah.
Okay. So yeah, Amit, what are your thoughts?
I agree. So Shashank, would it help if we bring in fourth scenario specifically into a new user story? Because I believe the
Mm.
first three would be important to add. Maybe fourth one we can try and negotiate with customer and see. Let's implement three in this sprint and then fourth one in the next one. Would it help?
Yeah, yeah. It's like we will be, if we split the story into smaller stories, I think that will be really helpful for us to to reduce the efforts, and also and we can complete the story at a much faster rate. Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'm taking
Yeah.
it in my side notes, and yeah, I'll save it further.
Yeah, thank you,
Okay,
Amit.
back to you
And I
guys.
Yeah.
think Ame is having 2 pointer. Ame.
Is it okay? We'll go back there.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, hello guys, I'm in the team as well. Yeah, so I feel, the code is already available with us. The repository is also there. So we just need to apply the code and yeah, and then we can see, because, the search functionality is also quite complex. And in that sense, if you see, the first 4 criteria are quite pretty clear, which we also developed in the previous way as well. So for me, that is why I put 2.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe I'll like to hear out from others what they think.
I voted for 8 because I thought, like some of the functionality we can definitely put in some of the reusable code component. But at the same time, I think validation is definitely required and some efforts on the automation as well. So thinking that, I marked it as 8.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have also marked as 8, considering the development required for front end and backend and also testing. Like we have to test on different browsers as well, and like for mobile application also we need to test. So considering all these points, I have voted 8.
Okay, so yeah, Amay, what do you think now? Like the team members are saying maybe the other things will take more time or that can be
Yeah, I can
complex.
come to, yes, I can come to 5 or 8. It should not be a challenging because I can see there are situations seen clearly, so I can even come to 8 or 5. It's okay with me, but 13 is too much, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. But you agree to the points that were highlighted by Adil and the other team members, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. So sorry, Amay, the fonts were very small, so I didn't able to see that you gave 2 pointer. Yeah. So so yeah, if now if as a team we are aligned, so Amit has moved out one of the acceptance criteria and thing, yeah. So when I move out one of the acceptance criteria, and now we can go for one more round maybe
Yeah,
and see
sure,
how
Shavik.
much
Yeah.
aligned we are.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Can I
Amit.
start a new
Okay.
voting?
Yes, yes.
Okay, done.
Thanks. Okay, we're waiting for two more votes, Neha and Pratati.
I have done.
Yeah, Neha, you still there?
There is two Nehas. It
I
is
have
still.
done actually.
Okay, I think she has logged in from two sides. Okay, that's fine. Maybe we can reveal the cards.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we have couple of fives and 3 + 4 = 5 = 6 8s. So yeah, I think we are pretty much aligned, but still I like to ask Shankri and Adil, right? Are you guys good to go with others? Or
Yeah, sure. Shavik. Yeah, I think I can go with 8 as well.
okay, okay. So in that case, maybe we can put 8 as our story point for this particular story and move ahead. Okay, so yeah, maybe before moving to next story, if we can do a quick task breakdown for this particular thing. So how we are going to do it is what all things that needs to be done to complete this story. So Amit will help me here, jotting down those points, which will actually come as a task inside the PBI, inside the story.
So you can, I'll just link them, I'll just relate them to the story point. You can just share the task. I'll update it here. I'll mark it as task.
Yeah.
If you
Okay, so
guys can either say it or maybe write it in the chat, I'll copy and paste it. Uh,
Create a add card page.
okay, so that's one of the tasks. So guys, the thing here is to understand is whoever is going to work on those tasks, they should create, like they should give the task, right, to complete the story. Maybe if we can identify who all in the team is going to work on that, we can just ask them to help us with the task. Maybe unmute and say that who all is going is
Yeah, I'll be
volunteering for
working on
taking a.
the verification and
Okay,
validation testing survey. Yeah.
okay. So Shashank,
Within
any
this
task?
task, or should I create a new one?
Separate task. Yeah, separate task. So Shashank, what should be the task that you are going to perform?
I just pinged in the chat.
Okay.
So that's in short, but I
From
can elaborate it once we add the task. Yeah, sure.
cool. Okay, so we have one task that is create a ad card page. Uh, who is going to develop this? Anyone? Any volunteer?
I will be working on add card page.
Okay, just one piece, right? And any other developer who wants to pick this up, pick other things.
Yeah, I can pick one.
Okay. So other like what all things you want to pick? Maybe we can create a task for that.
I can work on the search component maybe.
Okay, develop such component.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll add the mail IDs with the assigned name. I'm just putting up in the comments here.
sure. So will that suffice? Will that these many works like at creating a card page, working on the search functionality, and validating and verification is enough to deliver this story, or some other things needs to be done? I'm looking at our
Yeah, I need to work on the services part, which pull the data from the database schemas.
great. So that's that was Abhishek, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So are we good with these many tasks to complete this user story? Just think
Yes.
through, guys.
Part
Yeah.
we need one more
Okay.
task to test on multiple devices and
Hmm.
process.
So Sashank, is that covered as part of that task, or shall we
Hmm.
have a separate task to,
Yeah,
you
we
know?
can cover in the same task, Shavik. That is what we can mention. We can have some more subtasks within the same task where I
Okay,
will be mentioning browsers on and the different devices that we'll be testing. Yeah.
great. Okay. So if this suffice, this mini task suffice, maybe we can quickly estimate, give a rough estimation. It's indicative as in hours. It's not like when actually we know like when you actually get into it, things may change. But to start with, can you guys give some hourly estimate for
So
completing these tasks?
like usual, Shavik, it is 6 hours per day that we're taking into capacity, right? Yeah.
So you are saying you will just take 6 hours to complete this task, Sashank?
No, no, I'm saying like how are we calculating the
I'm
number of?
just want
Yeah.
no, I just wanted to know how many hours you will need to complete this task, and that's again just an
Okay.
indicative date. It should not have to be exact.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
based on
I'll
your
take
experience.
18 hours. Yeah, 18 hours.
18, cool. Okay, Adil, how about you? To implement this search solution.
I think 8 hours should be okay.
I will
Okay,
take 12
so that
hours.
covers. Okay, sure, Neha. And Adil, this 8 hours is enough for you to develop as well as perform the unit testing.
Yeah.
Cool. Abhishek, how about you for pulling the data from database?
If the schemas are available, then I can do in 8 hours.
Okay. Anyone is aware whether the schemas are already with us or we have to work off from the scratch? Anyone is aware of that from the
Uh,
team?
yeah, I think
Maybe Amit, no.
I think
Yes, from prior user stories, we have the database and everything created. If Avishek would need something specific for search, that would have to be created from scratch. Sorry, I interrupted Satish. Please go
no,
on.
same thing I was about to tell Amit. We
Okay,
already developed that, so it's available.
okay. Thank you.
Cool. So yeah, Abhishek, we have the schemas ready. So based on that, maybe you can give your estimation, effort
Yeah, then
estimation.
I'm able to finish in 8 hours.
18,
Okay.
right?
8 hours.
8 hours, sorry. Okay.
Okay, I think we are good here. So yeah, this will help us in at the end when we are doing checking the capacity for committing the stories. Yeah. So yeah. So shall we move to the next story or Sunan? Sorry.
I think we are good. Yeah, the
As
story. Yeah.
yeah. So if you have paused, Sunan, okay, team. So we have pulled in these four user stories, and we have break down the task for one of the user story, that is search solution, and we have given some our estimation to it as well. But keeping the time constraint in mind, I let the team to add the task outside the sprint planning, so you guys can connect and add the relevant task for the other user stories, and maybe you can add the estimated hours for them as well, right? Oops. Okay. So with that being said, let's finalize our sprint goal. So let's hear it out from our product owner. Amit, what was the sprint goal that's in your mind when
Okay,
we are taking up this
right.
user stories?
So as per the vision for this sprint, we are hoping to have search functionality implemented and card authorization feature to be implemented as well. So those are the
Okay.
two.
Okay. Okay. Team, what was the second one, Amit? Sorry.
Card authorization, CARD
Yeah.
card. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So team, so these are the two main features that is the vision for this sprint, and all the user stories that we have picked up for this sprint are going to enable these two features. So you guys, anyone has anything to add?
I think we are good.
Uh,
So
so we need help from all of you to write. So sprint goal should be a statement. It should not be like what all things that we are doing. So what should be the value that we are going to generate by delivering these two functionality? So maybe a one liner that should you guys can think of and come up. Of course, Amit can help here. See, he has the vision. So while delivering this two functionalities, Amit, what value we are going to generate?
So the value is people should be able to have credit card authorization, which would lead to credit card payments as well. And as part of search functionality, they can try and find the products based on different categories which were mentioned in the acceptance criteria. So as part of the sprint goal, maybe we can mention implement credit card authorization feature along with the search functionality for for the customers, for the online customers, because both of them are from the persona of online customers specifically.
Such functionality for the online customers and how it's going to help them. Maybe one line so that
Um, with increased, how should I say?
I think better user experience.
Yes, better customer experience. Yes, better user experience. Yes, correct.
great. So yeah, so this is our sprint goal. Anyone want to add or modify this?
A better user experience in all the device and the browser.
Thanks, Abhishek. Anyone else has anything to add here, or are you guys agreeing to it? Sashank, Shankri.
Yeah, I
We
think
too.
I am good.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, we are good to know.
Great. Okay. So shall we finalize this? I am going to circulate this sprint goal along with what all user stories we are going to commit with the stakeholders after the planning meeting.
Yeah,
So shall I
sure,
lock this
Shavik.
answer? Okay.
Yeah, Shavik. Yeah.
Great. I'm just starting the sprint.
I think your camera is turned off, Shavik.
Maybe it's turned on. I'm sharing my screen. It's some network issue. We can't help in this.
Okay, okay.
Okay. So the next thing is the capacity planning. So though, as we discussed as a team that we will create the task at the later stage outside the sprint planning, and you guys will add the effort estimation. So maybe we'll have the greater picture at the later point of time. But let's see how's everyone's capacity is looking like. So next week, in next week we have, like, in next sprint we do have one holiday, it seems. So we have 9 working days. Okay. And so these are the 8 working hours. So let me just check. uh, okay, so what are the any planned leaves, guys? I'll start with the first. Abhishek, any planned leaves in next 2 weeks?
It's already mentioned I have a 2 leaves plan.
Okay, so that's confirmed, right?
Yeah, actually, I'm traveling.
20
Yes.
till 12th. So till 12th of October. Sashank, you have any leave plans?
Yes, Shavik. Actually, I'll be traveling next week, so I think I'll be away for the entire week.
So 5 days you will be out, right?
Yep, yep.
Okay, sure. Adil?
No, Shovik, I'm there.
Okay, no leave plans.
No.
Cool. Neha?
No leave plans.
Okay.
You have to
Prasathi?
mark in hours. Sorry.
Okay, now it's right. So 5 into,
40.
sorry, 40 hours, yeah. Prasathi, how about
No, I
you?
don't have. No, I don't have.
Okay. Shankri?
I'll be on leave for 2 days.
Okay, so 16 is already mentioned there. Satish, how about you?
Yeah, I don't have any leaves, but 2 days I a full day I will be in complete training I am taking. So I think you have to consider that also here.
Okay. So I think team members. So this column, right? Okay, fine. So Gautam, how about you?
Uh, I will also be there for the entire sprint.
Sorry, can you come again, Gautam?
No leave plans. I will be
No
there
leave
for the
plans.
entire sprint. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Gautam. So it seems like our okay, our net work hours is the team capacity is around 408 hours. Okay, and once you guys fill up the effort estimation for the task that you will going to pick up, we will evaluate if anyone is overloaded. But I can see here that Sashank is having more than what he can take. So anyone, maybe the story, the task that Sashank is picking up, maybe anyone can help him here. So let me go back to a sprint board.
For testing part on
Yeah,
balance.
yeah, yeah.
I think the user story which I am going to take, I think I will be able to complete much earlier. So maybe I
Mm.
can help here, Shashank, on this.
Great. So Shashank, one thing you can do is maybe you can break down this subtask into maybe some smaller unit, and you can
Yeah.
check with Satish if where he can help you.
Sure, sure. Thanks, Shavik. I'll collaborate with Satish and we'll work together to complete it. Yeah.
Great. Okay, and so I think we are good here. One last thing before we close out this sprint is, as we all know, our average velocity from the past three sprint is 20. Actually, it's 21. So now let's just see how many stories we have committed for this sprint. So it seems like we have committed more than that. So it's like 20, 38. It's, yeah, it's around 40. So Amit, as a team, like as our average velocity is 21, that too with almost full capacity. But this sprint, couple of folks are out, and Sashank is out for 1 week as well. And the available capacity is also less. So I'm assuming that we will complete somewhere around 20 story points, Amit. So what you suggest, like which two will take priority?
Which two we are considering for this one?
Uh, so we have pulled all these four user stories, right, for this
Yes.
sprint, but with the available capacity and based on our past velocity, which is 21, I don't think team will be able to commit and complete all the four. So you can
Mm,
help us in prioritizing and
The
sorry, Shavik. I
yes.
think these are the tasks actually, not the
is it,
stories.
how come I went? Okay, let me go
Oh
back.
no, I think you can scroll down. The user stories will be down. Yeah.
Okay, three. Okay, so we just have picked two, right? Okay, then I think we are good. Sorry about the confusion, guys. So 8, 9, 10, 13. So we have 13 story points picked up. So I think with full capacity, the team has delivered around 21. But this sprint, we have a lesser capacity. So I think 12 is not 12. We do have, yeah, almost 12. 12, 13 is fine. But what do you guys think? Shall we take any more user story, one small user story, or we just keep it as is?
I think we can have start off with this, Shovik, and then maybe in the second week of sprint, maybe we can revisit a backlog to pull something new.
Yeah, I also agree with that.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so I think we are good with these two then. And so 13 story points, that's what we are going to commit. So I'll communicate again the same along with the sprint goal to all the stakeholders and the business sponsors. And couple of points that you guys will add in the task, break the stories into task and add in us. And yeah, I think we all are good then. Any closing comments or questions from anyone?
I would say happy sprinting.
Yeah, great. Okay, if nothing else, then thank you guys for your time and your contribution. Let's make this sprint success. Thanks.
Thank you, Shavik. Thank you all.
Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you.
All the best.
Thank you all.